Okay, so now we're on problem 24 through 27, which tell us that we have to solve the following quadratic equations by completing the square. So 24 says that I have x squared minus 6x plus 12 equals 19. The first step of completing the square is to move this over, so we're going to move it over. So I get x squared minus 6x. To move the 12 over, you have to subtract it, so minus 12 minus 12. So now this cancels out, and this is going to equal 7. Then you have to fill in your blank lines, so x squared minus 6x plus blank equals 7 plus blank. That blank line is b over 2 squared. So we take our b value, in this case, which is negative 6. Negative 6 divided by 2 is negative 3. Squared is 9, so I'm going to add 9 to both sides. So now you have x squared minus 6x plus 9 equals 16. You can use the box and you can factor this piece right here. And when you factor it, you're going to get x minus 3 times x minus 3 equals 16. So now x minus 3 times x minus 3 means x minus 3 squared equals 16. And then to solve, you're going to square root both sides, because to undo a square, you have to square root. So now you have x minus 3 equals plus or minus 4. Then you have to add 3 to both sides to get the x by itself. So you have x equals plus or minus 4 plus 3, which means x equals a positive 4 plus 3, and x equals a negative 4 plus 3. So x equals this right here, positive 4 plus 3 more is 7, comma, and negative 4 plus 3 more is a negative 1. So there are your two solutions. So now we're going to do 25, exact same thing. You have negative 2x squared plus 8x minus 18 equals 0. So again, we're going to move, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to move the c value right here. So we're going to have negative 2x squared plus 8x equals 18. And on this problem, we have to be so very careful, because this number right here, the a value for all the other problems we've done has been 1. So what we're going to do is we need to factor this out. So I'm going to pull out a negative 2, and now I have x squared. And then if you do if you take your 8, which is right here, and you pull out or divide by this negative 2 right here, on the inside you're going to be left with a negative 4x. And to check that, if you take this negative 2 and you multiply by this negative 4, you'll get back to your positive 8. And this is going to equal 18. So now I can add my blank lines in. Negative 2x, x squared minus 4x plus blank equals 18 plus blank. Again, that blank line is b over 2 squared, so I'm going to have negative 4 over 2. I'm going to square it. Negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. Negative 2 squared is a 4. Be very careful. Be very, very careful. You added a 4 on this side, but it wasn't just a 4, because this 4 on this side is multiplied by a negative 2. So on the other side, you're going to do 4 times negative 2, so you're going to add a negative 8 on this side. So now what that means is when I do this, I'm going to have negative 2. And then when I factor this piece right here that I'm boxing, when you factor that using your box method or whatever it is you need to do, you're going to have x minus 2 squared, you're going to get x minus 2 times x minus 2 is going to equal 18 minus 8 is going to be a 10. Now to solve, I'm going to divide by my negative 2 and divide by my negative 2. So I now have x minus 2 squared equals negative 5. If I go to finish solving this thing that I'm boxing right here, you're going to square root both sides. So square root, square root. So you're going to have x minus 2. And that's going to equal the square root of negative 5. You're going to add 2 to both sides. So x is going to equal 2 plus or minus the square root of negative 5. This, in your math world, doesn't really ever exist. You've never taken the square root of a negative number, which means this is one of those quadratics that's going to have no zeros or no x-intercepts or no real solutions. Okay, so now we're going to do 26. And really at this point, you should stop the video. You should try the next two by yourself and then check yourself by using the video. But here we go. So we're on 26. I'll put that over here in the corner. X squared minus 12x plus 3 equals 8. I'm going to move my 3 over. So I'm going to get x squared minus 12x plus, I'm going to add my blank line in, plus blank equals 8 minus 3 is 5 plus that blank line. To fill in the blank line, and we've checked right here, the a value here is 1, so we're good. To fill in my blank line, we're going to do b over 2 squared. So we're going to do negative 12 divided by 2 and square it. Negative 12 divided by 2 is negative 6. Negative 6 squared is 36. And if you add it to one side, add it to the other side. So now we have x squared minus 12x plus 36 equals 39. You're going to factor. You can use your box if you need to, but this is a perfect square trinomial. So we're going to have x minus 6 squared equals 39. To undo the square, you are going to square root both sides. So x minus 6 equals plus or minus the square root of 39. And then you need to add the 6 over and add the 6 over. So x is going to equal 6 plus or minus the square root of 39. And the last one of these is number 27. So for number 27, you're going to have 3x squared minus your 9x minus 3 equals 21. So I'm going to add my 3 over. So I'm now going to have 3x squared minus 9x equals 24. On this one, we do have an a value we have to pull out right here. So we'll pull out the 3, and I'm going to be left with x squared minus this 9 right there. 9 divided by 3, or this 9, when you pull out a 3, you're still left with minus 3x plus my blank line equals 24 plus my blank line. The blank right here is going to be b over 2 squared. So I'm going to have negative 3 divided by 2, and you're going to have to square it. Okay, so when I take my negative 3 and divide by 2, you can get negative 1.5. And then when you square negative 1.5, you're going to get 2.25. So in this blank, we're going to put 2.25. But remember, there's this 3 out front. So before I put the number in this blank over here on the other side, I have to do 2.25 times 3. So I'm going to get 6.75. So now we have a 3 out front. And you can factor this, or I would recommend that you use your perfect square trinomial properties. You're going to get x minus the 1.75. This is just, again, that number. It's just b over 2. It's that b over 2 thing that you found before you squared it. I'm just going to erase that so that we have space to finish doing the problem. And that's going to equal, our 24 plus 6.75 is going to give us 30.75. Oh, and I forgot the squared, sorry. Now you're going to divide both sides by 3. So you're going to get x minus 1.75 squared equals 10.25. And then you're going to square root both sides. So you're going to get x minus 1.7 equals plus or minus the square root of 10.25. And then you're going to add your 1.75 to both sides. So you're going to get x equals 1.75 plus or minus the square root of 10.25. Okay, so the next set of problems wants you to graph by, or just solve the following equations by graphing. So before you graph, you need to make sure they equal 0. So to do number 28, I have x squared plus 7x equals negative 14. So I need to add the 14 back over to the other side. So I'm going to do x squared plus 7x equals, nope, not equals, sorry. Plus 14 equals 0. So this is what I'm going to type in my calculator. So when I do that, you can see that this is my x-axis. I have no x-intercept. So the answer for this one is no real solutions. Okay, so for number 29, you're going to have x squared plus 2x equals 24. Again, you're going to have to move this over. It has to equal 0. So what you're really going to graph is x squared plus 2x minus 24 equals 0. And when you do that, I'm going to show you the picture that you should get on your calculator screen. So you should get something like this on your calculator screen. And so right here is your x-intercept, and right here is your x-intercept. So one of the solutions is x equals negative 6, and the other solution is x equals 4. For number 30, it's already set up for you nice and pretty, so we're just going to type it the way it is in the calculator. So again, we just typed number 30 in our calculator because it already equaled 0. And when you do that, this is the picture you should get. This only has one x-intercept right there. So the only solution is x equals 8. And then for the last one, number 31, we have number 31 says x squared minus 5x equals negative 12. So we're going to have to add the 12 over to both sides. So I have x squared minus 5x. Okay, let me rewrite that because that's really bad handwriting. scratch it out and try again. So I have x squared minus 5x plus 12 equals 0. That's what I'm typing on my calculator screen. And I just want you to know that all I'm using is this webpage called Desmos. So www.desmos.com and /calculator. And it's just an online graphing calculator, which makes things really easy. So that's how I'm making all these graphs. This one's a little bit tricky. I had to zoom up so I could see it. Down here in blue, what I'm drawing, this is my x-axis down here, and this is my y-axis. And you can see how high up the graph is. So I actually had to zoom my graph so I could find it because it was way up top. But the blue was my x-axis. Well, you can see right here on the graph, it never touches this x-axis. So there are no solutions. Okay, so the next problem, 32, says that a soccer ball is kicked into the air. The height of the soccer ball can be modeled by an equation. And it says f of t equals negative 2x squared plus 12x, where t is time in seconds. And then it asks you, what is the value of t when the equation equals 0? So all I've done is made this graph on that Desmos calculator I was telling you about. And t equals 0 at my 2x-intercept. So obviously, there's one x-intercept and there's the other. So the question is, f of t equals 0. And we're asking you, what is t? Well, right here, t equals 0 because that's that x-intercept. And the next one is t equals 6 because that's that x-intercept. So this is how long the ball's in the air. And this is time when time starts. The next question, 33, says, after how many seconds will the ball reach the maximum height? So to do that, I'm going to have to zoom out. So it's the same graph. I had to zoom out a little bit, and I can prove it's the same graph because there's my 0 and my 6. But my maximum height is way up here. So if you go down the graph, you're going to reach a maximum height of halfway in between 0 and 6, which is 3. So my maximum height is after 3 seconds. And that was the answer to question number 33. And then I'm going to use the same graph right now to answer 34, which it says, what is the height after 5 seconds? So I'm just going to grab another color really quick. Use purple. So 5 seconds is right here. So if I go up to the graph at 5 seconds, and I go over, that's 8 and that's 10. This right here that I'm drawing, that's 9. So it's going to be about 9.5 feet, and that's the answer to number 34.